Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 18th of February, now it's 12:30 Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my channel in which I share latest updates on the news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There is plenty of very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment. But before I start, let me once again emphasize how grateful I am for your attention and support, including donations, of course. That means a lot to me, so thank you very much. That being said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with Ukraine and special military operation, if I may. And first news is that a few minutes ago, little more than an hour ago, let's say, Russian armed forces did conduct a missile strike on logistical and energo infrastructure of Zelensky's regime. And according to Russian and Ukrainian sources, explosions were heard in Kiev, in Lvov, Kryvyi Rog, Khmelnytsky areas, and this information may be updated in a few hours time, of course, but for now that's what we know. Some sources are saying that this missile strike was conducted by Black Sea fleet of Russian, and some sources, including Ukrainian sources, are saying that missile strike was conducted by Russian tactical aviation, which is new, really, because usually these kind of operations, in these kind of operations, active are Russian fleet and Russian strategic bombers. But if it's tactical aviation that was used now, that probably means that Russian side was quite successful in its hunt on Ukrainian air defense systems. And now Russian frontline aviation feels more free to operate near areas that are controlled by Zelensky's regime. In partial confirmation of this guess, let me say this way, as a partial confirmation, we may take statements from Zelensky's regime about previous missile strikes when they said that they did shut down around 50% of missiles. Usually they are always saying that they did shut down 80-90% of missiles, but in previous, during the previous missile strike, which was around a week ago, first time Zelensky's regime admitted that they did shut down only around 50% of missiles, which is basically indirect, at least, confirmation that they now have some issues with air defense systems. So if it's true, probably in near future we will see more activity from Russian frontline aviation. Now let's continue. And by the way, this is my Telegram channel, and if you are interested in news and you want to, of course you are interested in news, but if you want to see news updates basically on our base, then you can subscribe to my channel. Also on my Telegram channel, you will see a link in the description, and we can use this channel as a kind of reserve line of communication. Now let's continue with the other news, and we have TASS news agency here, which is reporting that this news is from late afternoon yesterday. And here, according to head of Wagner PMC, Evgeny Prigozhin, we have information that Russian armed forces, Russian side, and units of PMC Wagner, basically, did establish full control over the Paraskoviivka village north of Bakhmut. And let me show you on the map this area. That's Paraskoviivka, and this is Bakhmut here. As you know, a few days ago, Russian side take full control over the Krasnaya Gora, and their next target was Paraskoviivka, and it seems like they were successful to establish control over this village, and now we can say that Bakhmut garnison did lost its supply route from north and northwest side. And according to just latest news that I did see a few minutes ago, now PMC Wagner units are attacking these villages here, Verkhovka and Yahidnoye. So it seems like, and also as you can see, gunfight in Dubovo-Vasilievka direction. Sadly, this pro-Ukrainian map not really showing Russian success straight away. They are taking some time, But I have no reason to doubt that Paraskoviivka now under full Russian control. And, it seems like Russian forces are trying to do exactly what I was talking about in my previous videos. They are trying to encircle Bakhmut, fully encircle Bakhmut, and maybe even try to encircle Chisovyar too, at least to take Chisovyar in operational encirclement. And this movement of PMC Wagner units are basically confirming this. And if somehow Russian side managed to fully encircle Bakhmut, for example, and that's logical because there is no reason to push through city when you can encircle and just force Ukrainian forces to lay down arms and surrender. And if they encircle Chisovyar too, same time, that will mean that Ukrainian forces, Ukrainian Zelensky's regime will basically lose many brigades in this area. And nowadays, when they are short in manpower, this will be a huge blow for Kyiv. That's for sure. Let's continue with news. And this is RIA Novosti news agency reporting that according to Russian military, they have now factual evidence that Zelensky's Nazi regime is using chemical weapons on the battlefield. And you can see here some kind of canisters that was dropped on Russian positions in around Uglidar. And according to this information, on 16th of February, 2 days ago, Russian side detect two attack drones armed with these kind of canisters with chemical weapons. One drone was shot down, but second one managed to drop ammunition on Russian side. And in one occasion, two Russian soldiers were poisoned and taken to hospital. And the Russian side did manage to take, these canisters to do some expertise and learn what kind of chemicals exactly are used by Ukrainian side. So this is basically a huge development in my understanding, because as you know, we had information about usage of chemical weapons by Ukrainian side before, but we did not have factual evidence. Now Russian side has this ammunition with chemicals inside, and this is definitely a big development. Let me show you Uglidar direction, which is here. That's Uglidar. And this is big development, huge, basically, because if Ukrainian side are now starting actively using chemical weapons, that will definitely force Moscow to take some extreme measures to take, somehow force Zelensky's regime to at least stop doing this, or maybe just take out Zelensky's regime entirely. Because if they are using chemical weapons on battlefield, where is the guarantees that they don't send the Nazi terrorists inside Russia to conduct a chemical attack on in Russian cities. And where is the guarantees, man? There is no guarantee about it. So Zelensky's regime did cross all the red lines that could be crossed, and Moscow just have to act. And if it's necessary to take some drastic measures, then that's how it's supposed to be. Because Moscow cannot allow these terrorists to conduct strikes with chemical weapons on Russian soil, man. It's just no. And they will try. I have no doubts about it. Zelensky's regime will try to attack Russian cities with chemical weapons. They are terrorists, man. That's what they do. They are trying to harm as much people as they can. So this is very significant development, and I'm afraid every day bringing us closer to truly significant escalation of this conflict, because as I was saying many times before, man, Moscow one day may end up in a situation that that Russian leaders will see no other option other than use of some extreme force. And what that extreme force could be, we probably all know. Let's continue. Still RIA Novosti news agency is reporting here that Ukrainian armed forces, according to official of Zaporozhye region, Ukrainian armed forces are now, because of lack of supplies, basically are robbing civilians in Zaporozhye region that are under their control. And civilians are trying to flee when they can, or at least hide from Ukrainian armed forces. This is quite logical because Ukrainian army does has some big issues with the supply, including provision of food. And I'm not surprised that they are now just robbing civilians to take whatever they can. Morale in Ukrainian armed forces are probably on lowest point that it can be. Let's continue. This is RIA Novosti. And we have information that Poland, according to Prime Minister of Poland, Morawiecki, Warsaw is considering to send its MiG-29 jets to Ukraine, and that may be done if some kind of coalition will be formed of NATO member states. Basically, Poland is trying to form some kind of coalition, anti-Russian coalition, because they do understand that if they enter this conflict openly, NATO's fifth article will not work if Russia retaliate on Poland. And that's why they want to form with the active help of Washington and London, as I understand, because Warsaw does nothing without permission, at least from Washington and London. So that's why they are trying now to form some kind of coalition, so that they will be not one-to-one against Russia, because they know Russia will take them out, very quickly in very harsh manner. Because as I said many times, man, Poland is not Ukraine. And Russia has one attitude towards Ukraine and a very different attitude towards NATO member states. So this is good reason yet again for Polish society to just become more proactive, because I'm quite sure, man, ordinary Poles don't really need, even if they don't like us, man, majority, let's say, I don't think they want to go in war, with us. I just don't think that's what Polish people are dreaming of, And according to this information, and I did read about it on Telegram, too, Mateusz Morawiecki, Polish Prime Minister, on a Munich conference, which is taking place right now in these days, stated that they have very few F-16 jets, and they cannot send them to Ukraine, but they can provide MiG-29s if some kind of coalition will be formed. And of course, man, if MiG-29s or whatever jets will be sent to Ukraine, pilots will be from NATO armies. And these planes will operate from Polish soil too. No matter it's MiG-29 or F-16, whatever it is, man. Or Swedish Gripen or whatever, So once again, Poland is day by day escalating. They are trying to damage Russia as much as they can, because Polish elites are truly Russophobes. They are sick, man. They are sick, They should see doctor. That's how sick they are, and everyone can see it, man. It's just too obvious. But let's continue. This is RBK News Agency reporting yet again topic of jet fighters, and we have information here that U.S. Republicans are in support now to deliver F-16 jet fighters to Ukraine. And yet again, neocons, man. Neocons are in Republican Party, neocons are in the Democratic Party. All those parties are just a shame, man. They are scum. Deep state runs both those parties. And, it's deep state that making decisions, not those so-called congressmen or senators. They are just being told what to say or what to sign. And this is exactly this case now. Leader of Republican minority in Senate and Congress, in Senate, Mitch McConnell, openly are supporting now transfer of F-16s to Ukraine. And, as I said, man, one day we will probably see Western jet fighters to be introduced in this conflict, but it will not end very well for no one country in the West. I'm quite sure about it. Let's continue, and TASS News Agency is reporting here about statements that Macron did made on Munich Security Conference, and he said that it's not time yet to start peace negotiations with Russia. So this is President of France, man. And they are not ashamed to openly say that they are not for peace. They want prolongation of this conflict. And then they will say that they are not party in this conflict. They are not fighting Russia. Really? So Macron is saying that they want basically to force Russia to sign some peace agreement on their conditions that West will propose. But this is not happening, man. This is not happening. And as I said, more prolongation and more escalation from the Western side will definitely force Moscow one day to use extreme measures, man. And that's how this conflict will end, because once Moscow will show off its force, true force, then everyone in the West, in Western elites, will realize that, game is over. Because I don't think Mike Macron wants to, die. I just don't think he truly wants to die. I don't think anyone in Western elites are dreaming about their own deaths. And if they provoke Moscow, they will die. Definitely. Because nuclear war, don't let them survive even in bunkers. If they think that they have bunkers and they can survive there, no, they will not. There is no bunker that can stop Kinjal missile, for God's sake, man. They should know this by now. Let's continue now. Let's continue, and yet again, and I'm all for, I don't want this kind of escalation to happen. I want me to be understand correctly. I'm all against this kind of escalation, but I'm seeing that more and more West is escalating. Less and less room has Moscow to for maneuvers. And one day, Putin may find himself in a situation when there is nothing left to do. West is not stopping, and he may order Russian military to, to teach the lesson to the Western elites, and that's what will happen. And here, still TASS news agency is reporting about statements that head of NATO made. This not very bright individual, Jens Stoltenberg, and he said that military support of Ukraine is the quickest way to end this conflict. I mean, how stupid he really is, man. Truly, I mean, did he finish school even, or his parents buy school diploma for him, or I mean, how stupid he is, man. Truly, I mean, what is wrong with Western elites, man? So this idiot thinks that more weapons they will deliver to Zelensky's Nazi regime and more they will prolong this conflict. Conflict will end sooner. I mean, where is the logic, for God's sake? What is wrong with you, Stoltenberg? Who told you that you can even speak, man? I mean, who are you, for God's sake? Go and see doctor, idiot. Končený musor, blin. That's what I will say about it. I mean, he's garbage, blin. He's just garbage, blin. Let's continue. And this is interesting, really. Russian news agency RIA Novosti is reporting that Pentagon first time will send to Ukraine auditors, staff to do some audition about US aid that was sent to Ukraine. And this is gonna be quite interesting, really, because these US officials gonna be, quite surprised when they realize that most of the money, at least, that they sent to Ukraine is gone. Most of the weapons that they sent to Ukraine also gone. I remember a story. In Ukraine, one of the groups were asking Ukrainians for money to buy some military equipment. And they did manage to accumulate quite large sums of money. And you know what happened next? They did provide to society some equipment, military equipment, US-made military equipment, that they said that they did buy. And that was lie, man. Because those equipments, US is, prohibiting manufacturer to sell to anyone. and those weapons were delivered to Ukraine as a package of military help. So as I said, man, they are terrorists, criminals, and scum, man. U.S. military aid was shown to people as something that they did on their own, by money that they collect from Ukrainians. Of course, they steal all that money. And not just that, man. I mean, they are stealing billions and billions that US and the EU are sending to Ukraine. So no surprises there. But I want to see what kind of reaction these Pentagon officials will have once they arrive and learn what the hell is going on in Ukraine with US money and equipment. Interesting. Let's continue. Oh, what is this? We have, this is TASS News Agency reporting that Times did write about US society and some US officials even that are starting to lose interest in support of Ukraine. So it seems like information is getting through. I mean, real information is getting through in US little by little, step by step, and more US citizens are asking questions. I mean, why we are spending tens and tens of billions of dollars on some super corrupt regime when we have so many issues here in the US. And, it seems like this change of attitude in US society is now finding its way into at least some parts of US elites, because after all, those so-called elites do need support from electorate. They need support of society. That's how this game is played. So, if society is on one side and all those elites are on the other side, they're gonna end up in some trouble. But information is interesting because I was hoping that one day U.S. society will wake up, at least some part of society, and start asking questions. What the hell are we doing? I mean, we have here towns that have no clean water, for example. There is right now ecological catastrophe is in Ohio State, if I'm not mistaken. There is huge homeless problem in Ukraine. And this time, Washington is sending like over $100 billion to some super corrupt regime. God knows where and God knows why. Of course, people not gonna be happy once they start asking these questions. And once they realize who they are supporting really, Because, of course, US propaganda and Western propaganda in general shows those neo-Nazis as some kind of freedom fighters, man. Can you imagine that? And some kind of fighters for democracy and human rights, man. It's just too hard to believe that this is really happening, man, in the West. It's too crazy, though. But, I'm glad to see news that US society is waking up. Little by little, I understand that propaganda is too effective in the West, and the majority of Western society is still don't know what is going on really, but at least some of US citizens are waking up and are starting to ask questions, and this is a good development. This is good for USA, for God's sake, man. Not just for the world, because world needs US elites to be adequate, man. Because US is a too important state, too important country for the world, and that's why everyone's interest is to see normal, adequate, good humans in US elites. You know. Let's continue. This is TASS News Agency's reporting. Now, you may find it interesting. As you know, Russia did start making 260M bombers, strategic bombers. This is Soviet-era bombers, supersonic bombers. That their production was stopped after Soviet Union collapsed, but Russia somehow managed to start production again, and this is a quite big deal because production of this complicated aviation equipment is never easy for no country. As you know, US now cannot even produce, for example, F-22s because there is no manufacturing plant for this. And if of course they can remake F-22, fifth gen jet fighter, but it will take time, long time. And exactly that happened in Russia. It did take time, years, but eventually Russia managed to reestablish production of 260 strategic bombers, and the second one is its second one now are tested, and after that will be delivered to Russian strategic air force. So quite interesting. It does shows you capabilities of Russian industry, Russian economy, because this is huge deal, man. It's not easy to do so, to complete this kind of task. Let's continue. This is interesting also. RBK News Agency is reporting. How long is this video? Oh, it's over 30 minutes. Okay, I will go through headlines at least. And this one is interesting news. RBK is reporting that according to Reuters news agency, US tries to somehow push Russia out of Indian market of jet fighters, and they are proposing India now F-16s instead of they are proposing India to buy F-16s instead of Russian jet fighters. And to be honest, I mean, I do understand that these kind of deals are not just they have a huge impact, not just on economies and trade partnerships, but this is also political matter. And India should remember, and I'm sure India does remember, 1971, and what US did then, and what Soviet Union did. And if they now start to buy Western equipments, one day they may end up in a situation when West will just say no to, for example, deliver proper maintenance for those jets or weapons for those jets, or equipment for those jets. And what India gonna do in that case? And West, of course, West can do this kind of stuff. Western elites, they did many times before, and they will do it again. So I think it's dangerous for India. It's just dangerous for India to buy Western military equipment, because if they do so, then they have to basically do everything and anything that Western elites will demand from India. And I don't think this is in best Indian interests. But yet again, it's up to Delhi to decide. But I hope they will stay with Russian military equipment, because at least they will know that Russia will don't portray them like West did and will do again. You know, when it comes to F-16 itself, of course, this is a great fighter. Not just F-16 was proposed, but also Super Hornet F-18 plane, which is basically carrier-based fighter jet, but it can be modernized so that it can fly from ground. India does have aircraft carriers, but I don't think those carriers will be able to operate F-18s. But anyhow, even F-35 was demonstrated in Bangalore air show. But I have doubts that the US will sell to India F-35s. You know, these planes are great planes. I mean, Super Hornet is great, F-18 is great naval fighter. F-16 is also a great fighter, and if anyone says otherwise, they are mistaken. But I believe Russian Su-35 are better than both those planes. And what is more important, if India, for example, buys Russian F-35s or Russian Su-57s, for example, 5th gen jets, they will know that Russia will, you know, supply with maintenance, supply with equipment, with everything, and will never portray India. And they're not gonna have these kind of guarantees from the West, never. But it's interesting. It's interesting. Let's continue. This is TASS News Agency, and we have a statement here from head of Chinese Foreign Ministry, as I understand. Chinese official, high-ranking Chinese official, on Munich conference, said to Germany's representatives to Germany basically that what happened to Nord Stream pipelines may happen again, and China basically are giving a warning to the Germany that Berlin should be more proactive to do some inquiries and to demand answers, because after all, these pipelines was not just Russian project. Germany, it was Germans' initiative to build those pipelines on the first place, and it was in Germany's best interest to bypass all those transit states and directly receive gas from Russia, what was done by these pipelines. And now, when US and Norway directly attack Germany's national interests, Berlin is doing nothing basically, and the whole world is probably are in shock, because the world probably has had some respect towards Germany. But now this respect is just gone, because everyone understands that German leadership, German elites are just puppets of Washington and London, and they can do nothing. They cannot even say anything. That's how scared and dependent on the Anglo-Saxon masters they are. So let's continue. And this is Kommersant newspaper, which is reporting that EU will send 100 its officials in Armenia, that's South Caucasus region, and this mission will be some kind of humanitarian mission to make sure that Armenia is getting EU support in its reforms and the rest of it, and to make sure that Azerbaijan will not conduct no more military offensives against Armenia. And to be honest, because I have no trust to EU officials, I think in near future we will probably see yes, another confrontation between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and active role will play France, because as you probably know, France has quite difficult relationships with Turkey. There is many issues between them, unresolved issues, but one of the uh, main ones, for example, is that Turkey pretends on gas fields in Mediterranean, on which Greece also has some ambitions, and France is supporting Greece. France wants to, have some reliable energy sources, and they don't really trusting Turkey. And for example, in Libya, France and Turkey are in opposite sides. Turkey supports one party, which is in Tripoli, capital of formal capital of Libya, and France is supporting another so-called government, which is based in Benghazi. In Libya, for example, it's strange, of course. Geopolitics is a strange thing, man. In Libya, Russia and France are kind of partners because they both support same side. But it's not about this now, this news. So I do believe that France will try somehow to reignite conflict in South Caucasus region, and France will try to generate more and more problems for Turkey, to somehow isolate Turkey from West and to somehow damage Turkish-Russian relationships. Because Armenia is a strategic partner for Russia too, and for Russia it's very difficult to deal with this conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, because Azerbaijan also strategic partner to Russia, even though Baku, capital of official Baku, and Baku is capital of Azerbaijan, has much greater ties with Turkey. So all I can say is, I hope there will be some peace in South Caucasus region, because a very difficult region, and it's quite possible that next wave of escalation, military escalation, may blow up entire region there. It's so many hot points are there. So I don't really like this initiative from EU, because I just don't trust them. And who knows why they truly are sending those 100 people in Armenia. For what will come next. But time will tell. Here we have RIA Novosti, which is reporting. This is maybe interesting for you, because many of you did ask me about economical situation in Russia, and here Minister of Vice Deputy Prime Minister of Russia, Tatiana Golikova, stated that she did talk about situation in economy, in social, about social situation in country, and she said that where is the numbers? That's it. According to her, unemployment numbers are quite low, 3.7%, which is truly low. And even if we take in account that not all unemployees are registering as unemployed, even if you double this number, it's not going to be too big, particularly in a situation when country is under so many sanctions. So if you want to work, basically, you can find a job in Russia. I can confirm that. You may not be paid very well, but you will find job. So this is kind of indicator of how Russian economy is feel now. You know, unemployment is on 3.7% level, which is a good number for any country, really. I'm not sure that many European states has a better numbers in this sense. So let's continue, and this is gonna be last news for this update. RT is reporting about economy. This is about economy as well, and we have article here that Western sanctions helped Russia find the new oil markets, and this is absolutely true. And we have information here that in previous January, for example, Russia sold 300,000 more barrels per day than in January of previous year. So despite all those sanctions, you know, that West is putting on Russia, including on energy sector, Russia is still finding its ways to export its oil. And even if Russia will be forced to cut its oil production, and as you know, Vice Deputy Prime Minister Novak did stated that Russia may cut oil production up to 500 barrels per day. Even if that's the case, then you know Russia will be one of the major oil exporters in the world, and Russia will have revenues maybe even more than in previous years, despite all those Western sanctions, man. Let's see how world economy will feel, because if China is rising, Chinese economy, and if India's economy is rising, then demand on energy resources will be high, and price also will be high. And eventually, you know, Russia will make enough money to deal with all those with all those problems that West is trying to create for us, you know. And after all, Russia is, you know, exporting many other things, man. You know, people think that Russia is exporting just oil and gas, and this is not true, man. And I said many times before, you know, Airbus, for example, great European company, or Boeing, great American company, cannot produce the planes without Russian help. Many did not know it, you know. Many think that Russia is just a oil or gas producer, but not. There are many things that Russia is exporting that are heavily needed in Western economies. So yeah, this is it for now. I hope you find my video, this update, interesting, and if so, please consider to hit that like button, leave some commentary. You can see that I'm very active in the comment section. I'm trying to react on every comment, you know, as much as I can. And we do have some great conversations in comment section. I mean, you can read it for yourself. And I'm very happy to see this activity there. And please, if you can, share links to my videos with your friends on Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. That will greatly increase my chances to reach wide audience, and I will be very grateful. So yeah, this is it. If you can, and if you want to, you can donate to my channel. You will see a link in the description. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Take care. See you soon.